I read online, so it must be true. 10 pence a copy you got from those?
Yeah, Finders Keepers, 10 pence a copy is what I own.
Was it? And it sold well. So I mean, it doesn't sound a lot, but it sold well. So I'm guessing it was a few quid.
Yeah, sold hundreds of thousands of copies, and it only took me 3 months to write. So basically £10,000 a month in terms of how that was effectively working out.
Hello. I think we are in. Are we recording? Hello everyone, my name's Iain Lee. I write a column for Retro Gamer, and we're joined by David Jones, who writes video games. Hey David, nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. Yeah.
I'm sure most people know who you are and what you are. Do you want to do a little introduction as for anybody that may not know? I can't believe there's nobody here that doesn't know about Magic Night and all of those things.
I can give a quick run through. So basically, first game, Finders Keepers, well, not technically my first game. There was a game called Bonkers, but it didn't really sell very well. The first game that was properly published, Finders Keepers, 1985, followed by Spellbound in 1985, and then Nighttime in Stormbringer. And then I went and did a BSc, there we go. Went and did a BSc and then joined proper companies after that and worked for them. So other games you may know that I've written, DJ Hero 1 and DJ Hero 2. I was on when I say written, I was on the team. Wrote some code for it. XG3 Racing for Acclaim. That was a fun game. Didn't have enough content, but it was what was there was fun. And a few other things, most of which didn't get as good a reviews as my own stuff, so I'm not really that bothered about pushing them.
I want to go back because I'm really interested, and we could talk about the big games and stuff that you're doing now. I'm always interested in those early days, those early gaming pioneers, of how they got into the industry. You started on a Video Genie?
Yeah, there was...
I'd never heard of a Video Genie.
It was a Far East clone of TRS-80. Had a few little differences that I think they thought would stop them being copyright sued, in that it didn't have lowercase in its character set, and it had a tape drive built into it. Other than that, it was effectively a TRS-80 Model 1.
And how old were you when you got that, and when did you start programming stuff?
I was 18. Yeah, 18 when I got the first computer. Yeah.
And why? Because there's a difference between getting a computer and playing games on it or whatever, and going, I'm going to write games. I'm actively going to invest time in writing games. Why did you do that?
Part of it was I bought a computer because I was interested in computers rather than games. There wasn't really a games market I mean, there were a few things for the TRS-80, a few things you can play. Black and white, very chunky graphics, things like Space Invaders and Galaxians. But they were a bit limited. And for me, it was more about learning how to be a programmer and learning that skill. So I spent many hours in the evenings after work increasing my skill. After about a month, I had a basic game that I thought, oh, this will be good. I went down to the local computer shop and I said, what do you think of this? And one of the guys said, oh, you need assembly. I said, what's assembly? So a month later, I had something working in assembly language. It wasn't very great, but it was only 2 months into getting the first computer, so I can't knock myself too much for that. And then, so I went on sort of learning further, typing in a lot of listings from books, and because obviously it was typos, a lot of bugs crept in that way, so a lot of debugging crept in. And to my mind, debugging is the true skill of programming. It's all very well being able to program if everything goes right. You could just be lucky and it works first time. But if it goes horribly wrong and you still get it to work, that means you're putting the effort in and you've struggling to overcome the problems and challenges, and you're learning a lot in the process.
How did you come up with the character Magic Knight? What was the process to getting the? I'm assuming the character came first, then the game, or was it the other way around?
The actual game, the actual character Magic Knight wasn't actually originally my idea. It was Albert Owen, who ran a video shop in Loughton, who thought of himself as he was a taxi driver, and if you know taxi drivers, they have a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, and he wanted to be a software house, and nice bloke, but sometimes his ambition would overstretch what he was actually capable of. But he said, there's so many games at the moment that are set in space and set in the future, why not set something back in the past? And he showed me a public domain piece of graphics of a Magic Knight. So you may have seen the Magic Knight character knocking around in various things, because it's actually a public domain piece of art for the sideways on knight holding the flag. So he said, how about something based on this character? And his son was a graphic artist, commercial artist. So he made some sprites for me. And but we basically went to forward with that. So.
How do you, right, because this is completely alien to me, this is going to sound like a dumb question, how do you make a game, right? Because it's so big, there are so many different things to factor in, the puzzles, the gameplay, the fun, the difficulty. How do you go about doing that? Are you drawing it all up before you do it? Are you just typing it and seeing where it goes?
It's really down to... It's an old adage, but getting the foundations right. If you're building a game, you know you need something that's going to put some graphics on screen and move some graphics. You know it's going to have to move more than one pixel at a time. You know it's going to have to move a block of them. So you might start early on with something that prints characters on screen, then expand that to say 16 by 16 pixels rather than 8 by 8, and have it so it will draw sort of character size, as in... I've used character two different ways here. Printing characters or game characters. So printing characters like ABC, 8 by 8 pixels. So you write something that does that. You learn from that, you expand. Then you work out, well, how do I make a game character appear on screen? That needs to be bigger than a letter. So you write something that draws something bigger. Then you think, well, hang about, I can't just have it chunking 8 pixels a go across the screen. I've got to do something that moves it smoothly. So then you rewrite it to do that. And so you just improve and improve and improve until you've got enough bits so you can then start joining them together.
How did you go from having a game to getting it released? Did you go back to that shop and say, look, I've written this, fellas, what do I do now?
So basically, Albert Owen had tried to sell stuff. He was selling a few out of the shop, but he didn't really have much of an idea how to do the marketing side of it. So he was touting it around amongst a few different companies, and one of them was Mastertronic. And Mastertronic said, oh, this is interesting. We've got an idea for an educational range of games. Why not put something in here that involves adding up numbers, like prices and stuff, and we'll call that educational, and then we'll sell that as an educational game. Obviously, that's a bit of a silly idea, but that's why Finders Keepers has got values of objects that you can add the total value of together for no good reason. I expanded out. Mastertronic became sort of more and more confident that it was going to be something decent, and so they actually held it back till the 1st of January 1985, because they said we want to have it in the charts for as much as possible so to get a good position in the 1985 charts.
Let's not try and get that big Christmas market. Let's wait till the new year when everyone's skinned. Is that what?
Well, the thing is, I finished it about October 1984. Oh. And in terms of number of weeks it would have spent in the charts, there was only a third of the year left.
Right, okay.
whereas I think it charted overall at position 5 in the chart of the year for 1985, which wasn't bad, and it wouldn't have had any chance had it come out in October.
Mastertronic is I want to watch like a 6-part Netflix series on Mastertronic, because I find it fascinating. They were so exciting as a kid, 199 games in Newsagent on a carousel, and it was, you never knew if you're going to get a good one or a rubbish one, and that was part of the fun. Your games for Mastertronic stood head and shoulders above most of the other ones that were released. Were you aware of that at the time?
I was aware that I put more effort into things than, for instance, Alien Kill, which is the single alien with a breakaway wall behind it.
Right.
Yeah. or behind, yeah. Anyway, it wasn't much to it. It's the sort of thing you do in an afternoon. So, yeah, I knew I'd put a lot more effort in. And I'd even put things like the maze in there, because I was aware that Jet Set, Manic Miner then, and then Jet Set Willy a little bit later, had a lot more content than I had. And even though I know I was coming in at a cheaper price, I didn't just want to be seen as, hey, this is the same but cheaper. Yeah. So I put in the scrolling maze just to say, look, and I can do something that isn't in there. So, yeah.
I read online, so it must be true, 10 pence a copy you got from those?
Yeah, Finders Keepers, 10 pence a copy is what I own.
Was it? And it sold well. So I mean, it doesn't sound a lot, but it sold well. So I'm guessing it was a few quid.
Yeah, sold hundreds of thousands of copies, and it only took me 3 months to write. So basically, £10,000 a month in terms of how that was effectively working out.
What is that like when you get your first cheque coming through for £10,000?
It wasn't all that quick. It built up.
Okay. All right. Well, but still, you start getting money coming in for a game you've written. That must have been an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and that's why I wrote the next one. Yeah.
All right. So, what was different about the next one? How did you decide to approach it?
Well, for the next one, I'd seen an Apple Mac in the shop window for about 5 minutes. And seeing the Windows, I thought, I could do something with Windows. And I wanted to write something that was more text of entry. I had the inklings of a hint of the style of it in Finders Keepers, but I wanted to take it a lot further. I wanted to have the sort of game that, say, equivalent of a Scott Adams adventure, where you type in a whole bunch of stuff, but without the need to work out what actual verbs and nouns and stuff that he'd actually decided were the ones you were going to use. Now, obviously, with those games, that they use a lot of varieties of words. So you've got get, take, receive. Can all do exactly the same thing. But I still wanted it to be a lot more obvious. So by presenting the player with a hierarchy of if you've done this, then these are the words that work, and these are the words that work from that. It seemed to me a sensible way to do it. But then I could also have arcadey type elements where you walk into a room and you've got to avoid something that's moving as well. So I felt it was the best of both worlds, and it was the sort of game I wanted to play. So I was hoping you guys would want to play it as well.
Are you surprised you're sat here, nearly 40 years later, you're in a room, you've got a load of people here that are sat here watching you, keen to hear this. You're being filmed by telephones, right? Can you believe this? 40 years ago, would you ever thought you'd still be talking about those games decades later?
I wouldn't have thought it 40 years ago, but there's been various points between now and then when similar sorts of things have happened. So I'm sitting here thinking, this is what I expect to happen now, without wanting to sound big-headed about it. It's lovely, and I really appreciate how much you guys like my games. And I do try and put a lot of effort into them to make sure that they are what you want to see and play. So,
did you work directly with Rob Hubbard?
We didn't sit down and develop together, but we met a few times, and he handed over, here's the data, this is where you put it, this is how you call it, sort of routines and the data for it. Yeah.
What was it like working with him? The rare times that you did meet up with him, what was that like?
Friendly, professional. Yeah, I mean, we both had something to do that we were both keen on doing, that we both cared about, and yeah, it was nice, you know. But that was the case with most of the people I worked with, that we all wanted to produce something good that you'd like.
When did you kind of... Why Spectrum? Why was the Spectrum? If you're writing on a TRS-80 clone, what led you towards porting those games to the Spectrum?
A couple of technical reasons. One, the ROM's in the same place.
Right.
So I could assemble stuff on the TRS-80 and then squirt it down the printer cable directly into the memory of the Spectrum, and it would sit in the same place and it would run and do the stuff that I wanted it to do. The nice thing was I didn't have to worry about if the code crashes, it takes out the assembler and the source code and have to load it all from tape. If the code crashed and I looked at the TRS-80 and worked out, yeah, that's why. Within seconds, I could have a new version running on the Spectrum.
When did you realise those old micros, that they were coming to an end, their time was done, and how did you plan to move on to the next stage?
It was about the time that Mastertronic changed management, and they had a new manager come in who, I expect some of you have seen this sort of thing, where someone comes in and everything was going well, but they decide they're going to break it down from scratch and build everything up so any future success is their success. Yeah. And that's pretty much what happened there with Mastertronic. That's why Stormbringer was the last one in the sequence at that time. So, yeah.
You moved. There was some PlayStation stuff. You worked on G Police. What did you do on G Police?
I helped finish it because we were all working at Signosis Southwest. I worked on the end of G Police 2. So Signosis had decided they were going to shut the office, and a person turned up that we'd never seen before, and the first word out of his mouth was "unfortunately," and we thought this isn't going to go well. And he said, "Unfortunately, we're shutting the office, and you're all made redundant. But some of you will get 3 months more to finish off G Police 2." And I was one of the some. So that was nice. It got redundancy and a bonus for finishing another game, and another game on my portfolio.
I loved those games. They were tough games, though. They were tough, but I did love those. When was the last time? Oh, well, let me rephrase that, actually. You moved into writing novels?
Yeah, I've done a trilogy of novels, science fiction, that I published the last one over summer, yeah.
What's it called? Where can people find them?
Okay, there's Booting Ada, Breaking Ada, Blessing Ada. It's all about an AI, sentient AI, first sentient AI, and the survival challenges of such an entity. Yeah.
So they get them from your website, Amazon.
No, you can get them from Amazon. So if you search for my name but with an X in the middle, I've added the X. There's too many David Joneses. I need to distinguish myself somehow. So David X Jones, you can find all that on Amazon.
And I imagine there's, you talked about the adventure game element. I imagine there's a similarity between writing novels and writing games like those early ones.
Similarities and differences. Yeah, I mean, with a novel, at the end of the day, you've got to write something that the reader is fairly convinced you intended to write, rather than something that evolved. That just requires a lot more editing. So a lot of the ideas, as I was writing it, came together, and I thought, oh, there's a good scene, that's a good scene, oh, that they could work well. And then I go, oh, hang about, now I've got that will work nicely with that. And I had, from the start, I had some intended outcomes of various places, but how I actually got there was an evolution in the same way as how I wrote the games. With the games, a lot of it was about, here's an interesting puzzle. If I have that puzzle and this puzzle, yeah, that gives a clue to this third puzzle. Or here's an interesting piece of general knowledge that I know that, especially back in the 80s, people without an internet, which I didn't even know what it was myself at the time, wouldn't be able to quickly look up. They'd have to know the same general knowledge as me. So, yeah, a lot of it evolves, but if you edit something that evolves enough, it looks intended.
We're going to take some questions from you guys in a minute, so have a little think. But you have got quite an exciting announcement to make. This is an exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive announcement. Bear with me a second while I just fetch something.
The bag is coming out. Okie dokie. Ready?
Yeah.
There's a no game.
So this is, I'm going to put this on quickly. So this is the 5th game in the Magic Knight series, following on from Stormbringer. It will be for the PC in that I'm prototyping it and writing it on the PC. That's my primary development platform now for this. I'm in the process of chatting to some people for Spectrum Next to see if we can do something over there as well. But yeah, initially for the PC, it'll come out on Steam sometime next year. And I've got a little demo of it.
That's good. But walk that way, let's have a little demo.
This is very exciting. Didn't know I was getting an exclusive. This is great.
Of course, there'll be technicals. There's don't look at his password going in. It's Magic Knight, but the I is a 1. That'll fox him. Here we go. You're a little bit wonky on the screen. Don't worry, we'll get there. There's no rush. We've got plenty of time.
Oh yeah, it's not standing in front of you. Oh dear.
Poor Faith is being tasked with carrying the entire technicals of this.
Oh yes, it's because people stand in front of it. It's not anyone's fault. What happens? Oh, sorry.
What?
It's the same things happened before.
All right. Well, listen. While you're having a little fiddle with that, do you want to tell us a bit about the game, David? What we can expect? And I think you've got a bit of a competition that's going to be running as well.
Absolutely, yeah. As you can see from the shirt, it says MK5, Magic Knight 5. I haven't yet come up with a name for the game. I'm running a little competition for come up with the name of the game. You're welcome to join in. I'll give you a link for that where you can go and find the rules such as they are. It's not big expensive prizes, it's fun prizes, but if someone comes up with a name that I really like that I use, I'll put their name in the credits, their name or their tag, as long as their tag isn't rude. I'll put that in the credits for the game. Yeah, if we get this going properly directly on the screen, you'll see it's early days. I've put in about 300 hours so far, but a lot of that was testing things and trying things out.
Why? Why now? Why did you go, yeah, I'm going to do another one?
Combination of factors, really. You may know that I teach in a Dutch university, and in that Dutch university we teach C++. Because I've been concentrating so much on writing my novels, I hadn't done much C++ lately.
Yeah.
C++ lately. So I thought, well, I'll have a bit of a go. I got started and I thought, I enjoy this programming. Why have I not done programming for so long? I mean, I enjoy writing novels as well, but I do enjoy programming. So I started putting stuff together and I thought, well, yeah, why not? Why not try and make this next game? And then it's coming together nicely, and yeah, so that's what I'm aiming at getting done. If it gets a good reception, then it's intended to be a trilogy, because once I've written the engine once, effectively it's just new gameplay for more or less the same engine another 2 times. So I'll get to produce 3 games for the effort of 2, more or less, and that seems like a good bargain from my point of view.
We've still got plenty of time. So, David, do you want to come back here? We'll take some questions from the audience while Faith fixes that. Can we have a round of applause for Faith, who's working like a trooper today? I know what it's like trying to fix technicals in front of, tens of people. It's intimidating. So, tens, I meant that like tens of tens. I meant that as a high number, not a low number. Sorry. Anyway, Has anyone got any questions for David? You can ask about anything from the past, anything about the new game. Yeah, we've got a question right at the front.
What's been the hardest and the easiest platforms to code for?
Hardest and easiest platforms to code for?
A good question, really. I think I haven't really had a hard platform to code for, because as soon as I felt it was hard and there was another platform I could write on, I'd write on that. I suppose Atari ST comes closest to that. I just wasn't comfortable with the 68,000 processor. The fact that it's got sort of address registers and data registers and just got digits after 0 to 7, it didn't easily remind me of what each of them were. I know I could have set up macros to say this register is my A register, my B register, my C register, but then that would have just made the code less portable, less readable by other people, and it didn't seem a sensible way to go. So yeah, even though it was more powerful, way more powerful than Spectrum, yeah, it was a bit of a hard platform to really enjoy. And I think that's the thing really, is like, it's easy enough to program for, it just wasn't enjoyable.
We've got another question there, yes sir.
Yep.
After the success of Finders Keepers, did anybody else try to pilfer the Magic Knight to have a bite of that pie instead of Mastertronic?
No, actually, yeah, I just stuck with Mastertronic. No one sort of tried to poach me or anything. I wasn't looking to be poached. I was quite happy with what they were doing. I don't know if there was anything going on behind the scenes that I never heard about, but if there was, I never heard about it, obviously. So,
any more questions? Yeah.
Looking back, what do you feel has been the most financially lucrative phase of your career, and why do you think that was?
Definitely in the mid-80s, because I had Finders Keepers and Spellbound out in the same year, and I knew I was working on Nighttime for a soon release. But also by about the middle of 1985, Mastertronic were producing all the different other format versions. And they had a very nice way of working, a very respectful way of working with the developers, which was that they would effectively advance the cost for a developer to do a conversion. And then once that advance was paid off, they'd pay the developer as if they'd written the thing from scratch themselves. So every version on every platform, after the advance was paid, I was still getting 10p a copy. So although it doesn't sound like a lot per copy, if you add up all the versions across all the different platforms, it actually starts to accumulate nicely.
Were you a gamer at the time? Were you playing games, or was it a job?
I didn't really play a lot of games. I tended to watch people play games and get ideas from that. Yeah, it wasn't really my sort of thing to do, but yeah, I didn't play a lot.
Here's what I'm going to suggest, right? Faith has got it pretty good. It's not perfect. I'm wondering if we can kind of watch this and acknowledge that there are technicals and a bit blurry, and then maybe while you're sat there signing stuff, maybe you could have the laptop showing as well, so as people come past you can see it and you can answer any questions about it. I know it's not ideal. Would that be okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, there's not a huge amount there because I've concentrated more on doing the engine than getting the gameplay. So there's only 2 different rooms. There's only a few characters walking around. But I do have the menu system, and you can control a few things from
Do you want to go and show that? It's blurry, it's not ideal. Do you fancy that?
Yeah,
Go and
fine.
give that a go. And, thank you for accepting the technicals. And then if you want to go and get anything signed, we'll have the lappy set up there, and you can have a look at it in better quality, and David can explain exactly what is going on. So what have we got, David? Talk us through it.
Okay, so I'll just turn. You probably can't even see it on the blurriness, but I'll turn off the debugging lines. Hopefully, where is it? Yeah. So we have Magic Knight walking around. There's a few different things that are system improvements from the old 8-bit stuff. First thing you see is scrolling rooms. So tile maps, scrolling rooms, a whole bunch of them, and then also doors in the front and back. Now, I wanted to try and get the walking into the distance and walking towards us, but I didn't have the graphics for that. So we just flick up there. So we've got 3 different layers. If I go there and walk backwards, we'll go into another set of scrolling rooms that disappear off into the distance. If I come here and walk forward, we'll come to another set of scrolling rooms and walk the other way. So we've got a whole big map. We've also got jumping, as you might expect, all that sort of stuff. You would have also seen characters walking around rather than in the original 8-bit games, you just walk into the room and they've moved, whereas now they actually walk. They will do a bit more AI than just bounce off the walls, but that's a way off yet. We've got the menu system. I can press enter and I can do pick up object. It'll show me what objects are nearby. I can pick them up. So pick up this book. I can drop things, I can give things to people. I can control other characters as well. So here's a character in another room. And this character, because I'm controlling them, they can jump on top of things as well. As you can see as well, there's moving objects bouncing around, which is part of the arcade adventure side of it. There will be ways to pause them or slow them down to give you more chance to get past. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can't see yet. It's under the hood. It's part of the system that I'm putting together. It was a push to get anything done for now, because I only thought about this a couple of months ago, and I do have a day job as well. So fortunately, I did manage to get a fair bit of spare time together to work on things.
Is it fun going back to that old character, getting reacquainted with him again, or her?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, on my list of research things I'm going to have to do is play through the or watch the YouTube videos of the playthroughs to make sure I pick up enough clues of things that you guys might remember and think, oh, I'd like to see that, or I'll be able to put in sort of jokes and things that relate back to other things that you remember from your childhood, that I can then go, haha, look at this is now different, or this is now the same, depending on what it is. So
you watching a YouTube walkthrough, do you know what would be really good, what I'd like to see? Come back up here, is you doing a commentary on someone doing a walkthrough. Very popular with the kids these days, commentaries. But you watching someone play it and going, no, don't do that. I remember that. It was an idea from a friend. Do you know what I mean? Just watching someone and comment, do almost like a director's commentary.
Yeah, it could actually be fun to do. Yeah, I've not really looked at doing my own YouTube videos, but yeah.
Oh, I think you setting up a YouTube channel, I'll help you with that. I think that would be a great idea. Getting to show a little bit of gameplay, talking about that would work, wouldn't it? I would definitely watch that. Gentleman's got his hand up.
If you used to play the games now, would you still remember how to actually complete them?
No. Especially not Spellbound. That was a hard game, and I know that. That's part of the reason that nighttime was a bit easier, because I felt I was a bit too mean with some of the puzzles in Spellbound. Although I did put in some mean ones in nighttime as well. There was one in particular I remember that I almost felt guilty about, where you get the coordinates for the transporter, and I actually give them to you in ZYX order, and then most people would type them in as XYZ order and get teleported out into space and die. And then you got to reload the entire game from scratch. And so part of the plan that I've got for this is there will be save points, there will be stuff like that, but if you want to play it on hardcore retro mode with no save points and sudden deaths, there will be an option to do that, and I will be very pleased to see some of you actually achieving that.
He hates you, doesn't he? Have we got any more questions for David before we start wrapping this up and get to the signing? Are these things? Oh, there's the one there. Sorry, I missed.
Well, I'm just wondering, what are you proudest of?
What are you proudest of? That's a good one.
In terms of my games, I would say nighttime, because there's a number of reasons. I mean, one, my naivety meant that I did a better job than I might have otherwise done, because at that point, Spectrum 128 wasn't necessarily going to be successful, and a lot of companies were holding their sort of development effort back, and basically just putting in some sound and maybe an extra room, just to say, look, we've supported the 128K, let's hope it succeeds, but if it doesn't, no problem. Whereas I went hell for leather, and it was basically Mastertronic said, here's a 128K Spectrum, do you want to write something for that? And I said, yeah. So I jumped in and I did everything I could for it. Well, not everything I could have done more, but I knew that I always wanted to cram the majority of the game into 48K. So I didn't want to write every single byte full of stuff for the 128K. But it did mean that I wasn't constrained by memory or other limitations, apart from the fact it wasn't fast enough to redraw the screen each turn. I wasn't constrained by a lot of things, so it meant I could write whatever I wanted. And my thought was, and then I'll get rid of the worst bits for the 48K Spectrum. Only there weren't any bits that I really thought, well, that's the worst bit. So I ended up sort of reducing some of the graphics. So when you land at a new planet, or when you arrive at a new planet, instead of having a variety of things on the screen, it was pretty much the same one with different colours. And that saved a lot of memory. But I also did data compression for it, for the 48K version. The engine was at its best for the 48K at the end of nighttime 48K.
I'm going to stop it there. You're going to go and do some signing. I suggest taking that lappy so that people can see what's going on. I've really enjoyed meeting you. Turns out we were at university at the same place at the same time, which is freaky, but lovely. Round of applause for David Jones, please.
Do you want anything signed? David's going to move over there. Thank you, and that was great. Thank you, Faith.
Inside cover or front page, the fold from David, thanks, or... Yeah.
Separate. Okay. Separate because it was too long.